I'll go ahead and start. All right. Welcome back to the show. It is May 19th here in the glorious state of Iowa. I'm Nathan Creeps, joined by my co-host, Mr. Bryce Borschiller. Bryce, we might have jumped the gun a little early in last week's podcast, officially claiming summer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's jury already this Monday, isn't it? And it doesn't look very good this week.
Nah, I think it's like a high 49, windy, rainy. Did you get any storms last night?
Yeah, we did. And here's the thing: we do need the rain, so I'm okay with a little bit of a dreary week because otherwise we're going to be like the middle of the summer at the end of May, and we don't need that.
No. Yeah, no, we definitely need the rain. So I was happy to wake up to a few raindrops last night. I guess we might as well jump on this now. This is for Iowa news segment later, but I saw 3,300 people lost power up in Northwest Iowa last night.
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
Yeah. I it's weird because I saw a map, and I think we've only had like teens level of tornadoes, whereas last year we were up in like the 50s already by this time. It's all the big storms are in the south so far this year. So it's unusually calm. I think that we're going to have maybe a little bit more aggressive May and June. I think that the storms are waiting to hit us. So yeah, we definitely early called summer. Don't be surprised if we get some serious storms, some power outages, and some crazy stuff towards the end of May.
Yeah, it's the ones that sneak up on you. Like, I didn't even know there's any storms last night. Then whole second, got 3,300 people out without power. But the farther out they start predicting storms, the safer you are. So it's the ones that will sneak up behind you. So keep weary, keep your eyes open. This could be the time of the year, and this usually is the time of the year here in the next 1, 2, 3 week stretch. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But what'd you get done this week?
I was going to say we had like the stretch of the best May weather we've ever had. Had a great weekend and took full advantage. We had the Dirty 30 pond party last week, rolled right into a great week. And then just before we hopped on, we were talking about the golf games improving, which is just really exciting news. If the golf game struggles, then it feels like the rest of my life struggles. It takes such a toll mentally. We coined a phrase this week, and it might already be out there, but a bad day fishing is better than a good day at work. Well, a bad day golfing makes you want to drive off a bridge, and I just really need the golf game to trend upwards. And so far, it seems like it's going to happen. So, did some golfing. Got to hang out with like a 2-year-old on the golf course Saturday morning. That was insane. As we're evolving into this next stage of life, you've talked about all the lawn work you've done, some of the staining of the deck. The next thing on the list is marriage and kids, right? And I would guess, I don't know what your guys' plans are, but I would think that kids are probably on the horizon for you. We are getting a crash course with our neighbor, Will Thompson's kid. Holy cow. It's a lot. And I have a lot of respect for parents the more I hang around 2-year-olds and below.
Yeah. Especially what I talk about. The infant age is obviously tough. You're going to lose a lot of sleep. Changing dirty ass diapers and smelling shit all day. That can't be too fun. I see it through my sister's perspective, who's got 5 nephews or 5 boys of her own. And it's when they get up to like the 9, 10, 11, 12, then you guys start doing all this AAU shit. Then your life's really gone.
And Shane are up to now, huh?
Every single weekend. AAU sports. Minneapolis, Lincoln, Omaha, shit like that. So it's keeping my mom busy because she's got the 3 youngest at home, and she's just getting kind of do like a little at-home daycare with them. And now summer's officially kicked off, so she'll really have her hands full busy here with the kids being out of school. But good for Thompson's kid being on the golf course. There's always one big mistake in my life growing up was not being out in the golf course when I was younger, learning the techniques. I was talking to one of these guys I know at the golf course yesterday. He's like, it doesn't matter. He's like, if I pit 2 guys out here and say both of these guys haven't golfed in 4 months and they came out and just swung a club, I can instantly tell you who played in high school, right? It's all the techniques. And then at this point in stage in life, Bryce, we can try over whatever power we want to try to make our game better. It doesn't seem to work that way. It has to be done.
We've gotten good enough. Right. We've gotten good enough where we'll have a good round, but then just like we were saying before we hopped on, like the next round is just completely in the air. You don't know where your game's going to be at. So 100% agree with that. It's funny. It's for people that played young. It's like riding a bike for us. It's just going to have to be chopping, swinging, and hoping we get a chance at a birdie looker here and there. What did you do this weekend?
Yeah, I got a few things. Friday my cousin Anna graduated from Iowa, so her brother Michael
Nice.
was up from Dallas, so went and saw them at Big Grove Brewery for a couple beers on Friday. Graced our presence, got out of there Saturday. Got some shopping done because I'm going to Colorado this week.
Nice.
I got this new Columbia hat. I finally have a
Nice.
different
Looks good.
hat than my green tech hat. Maybe I can get a new
Yeah.
sweatshirt so I'm not wearing the freaking same sweatshirt every day. I got new shoes, and during this process, I just realized how much little fashion and little drip I have in my life. So it was
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
refreshing to get some new wardrobe in there because we're mainly shopping. We're going to Brad Paisley concert at Red Rock
Hmm.
on Saturday. So I was trying to get like a country fit, and I have very little of that. And it's so bad that when we go to Shields, one of the girls working there to help us find clothes, it was actually she went to Bishop Garrigan with me, Maddie, and she even said she's like you're the last person I have ever would have pictured you buying this stuff. So
Yeah.
so I'm trying to redneck up my life a little bit so I could fit in at Red Rock. I tried. We'll see how I pulled
Yeah.
off, but yeah, looking forward to getting out to Colorado. Have you ever been to? You haven't been to Colorado, have you?
I haven't been to Red Rock, so we mentioned it on the last show. We actually drove right by it coming back from the lower part of
Okay.
Utah,
Yep.
and I didn't realize how close we actually were. We stopped in Denver for In and Out, and we would have probably been 5 or 10 minutes away from Red Rocks. But no, I've the only time I've spent in Boulder or Colorado was Boulder, Colorado. So very very jealous you get to do that, and I hope to get out to a concert someday out there. It always sounds really really cool.
Yeah, it looks like we're leaving in a great week 'cause it's supposed to be super shitty rainy here, which is fine. We need it,
Yep.
but if I can go
Hmm.
let that happen here and go with the 80-degree weather every day, which it looks like it's going to be for us out in Denver, sign me up. So
Yeah. So you leave when and come back when?
fly out Wednesday out of Cedar Rapids. Thank God they have a direct flight there to Denver. And then we come back Sunday. We'll get back around like 2 or 3 ish. So then obviously we
Okay.
have all day Monday because it's Memorial Weekend.
Recoup and
Yeah.
yep.
So I don't know. I'm stoked to get out there and look at some mountains.
Yes. Yep. It here the best thing I think we've mentioned this on the pod too. Going somewhere cool, exotic, have a lot of fun, see new scenery. You guys have a lot of fun things planned, but then coming back to Iowa and then just really fully appreciating it. Like you guys are just going to be refreshed to be back here. I think
Yeah.
that you need those trips every once in a while to remember the boringness of Iowa is actually it. There is unique beauty here, but sometimes you got to get out and see some cool stuff.
Yeah, for sure. And then so that's I got all my shopping done Saturday. And then Saturday night, my brother texted me and said, "Hey, my two high school classmates are in town. They're running a death by 10K or whatever the hell it's called here in Cedar Falls, Waterloo." And
Okay.
what it is, Bryce, they started at 8 in the morning and they ran 10 5Ks. And so
Oh,
you go run a 5K, come back. You depending on how quickly you could run it, right? Maybe like 20-ish minutes or so, and you would
yeah.
chill for like 2 hours, and then you get up and run your second one, and then come back, and then that process repeated. So they started at 8 a.m. and the last race started at 6 a.m. the next day.
Oh my
So
God, that sounds
they were
horrible.
camping out at George Wythe Park, is where like the start
Okay.
line would be. So there's a bunch of people camping out there. It's kind of like a ragbri field, very miniature ragbri
Mm-hmm.
field. But
Yeah.
you got to remind yourself, it was get lows like the high of 40 for the low, and
Yeah.
so the high 40s, and it was freezing. So these guys were miserable, sleeping in a tent. We could barely walk. We got there about half. We went there at 8 o'clock, so they're about halfway through their runs, and these guys could barely walk. And
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh
Oh
my
my
god.
gosh.
So they said it ended up being
So,
so cold that the final two legs they ended up sleeping in the truck. And when we got there, they reeked. We were outside, and you could smell them. You could smell it. And
yeah.
then there's grabbing their stench of stuff in the truck. They said it was the hardest thing they've ever done in their life.
Oh, that sounds horrible. So you end up running 10 5K. So they ran more than a marathon. And I wonder if that's almost worse than running a marathon because you have that time to get tight
Uh
in
huh.
between.
Yeah, one of the
Oh
guys
my
they're running
gosh.
with, his name was Dan, and this guy looked like I told him, like, it looks like you were walking with a prosthetic leg right now. I'm like, you don't look good. He's
Yeah.
like, I think I'm done. So
Yeah.
he's like, just to save myself, I'm gonna let these next two guys go out,
Hmm.
get their run done, and then I'm gonna go out, or I'm gonna call the day. And apparently, good thing you did because now he has 4 to 6 weeks of physical therapy on a hip flexor. That's really bad, or something like that.
Oh, that's
So
brutal.
yeah, he was struggling. So good thing he called it early. And just
Hmm.
go appreciate these people, man. There's just no way in hell I would ever put myself through something like that. I don't care how rewarding it is.
Yeah.
They're nuts.
there's a few things you can choose to do after the age of 25. You have retired, even if you're a college athlete at that time. You're basically done doing anything super taxing. But there's that group of people that they don't choose golf, they don't choose lawn care, they don't choose grilling, they choose physical activity. And I have a lot of respect for anyone that's over the age of 25 that's still choosing to run marathons and 5Ks and 10Ks on the weekends, because in the shape I am now, it would absolutely destroy me. I would be the guy with the hip flexor 100%.
And
I'm already scared for Ragbri.
oh yeah,
I'm terrified.
Yeah, you should be. It's man, I always felt like I was invincible until like the last 2 years, and now especially that I've turned 30. Like when I was working down in my basement this morning, I was doing some jumping jacks, and I was just every single time I jumped, I think my mind was in my Achilles. Like, please stay together. I was barely doing anything.
Yeah,
I
know. Nate, we weren't college athletes, but I would say we were above average athletes in general. And now, like Ragbri 2 years ago really put it in perspective. I don't have it anymore. It's gone.
No,
now, granted, I don't train anymore, but it's completely gone.
No,
whatever was there is now.
Yeah, at our age, you almost got to be training full year round for something like that. And that's what Scotty's doing. I still can't wait to watch this unfold through Ragbri by himself.
There's a decent chance that he's going to vlog it too. So
I hope
we should be able to document the pain. I think he's going to be ready. He's golfed consecutive Julys and Augusts of 500 miles plus. So I think he will be ready by this time. Even so, it's going to be a feat of athleticism that is previously unknown to mankind. I'm very excited to watch this, and I'm really, really hoping we can get it on YouTube for everybody to watch that wants to watch somebody in pain.
Yeah, our good friend Scotty, who's with Iowa Chill. He's been biking a shit ton, obviously, for the last 5 years, but recently he keeps falling off the bike though too. So
he's also hurting himself.
There's also been multiple incidents, which is kind of good. You don't want to have a perfect training session, no scratches, no bruises. That's all part of the experience. Kind of gets you ready for Ragbri. So I like to say that would shape him up. But to cap off my weekend, Bryce, I finished it off with a little new documentary on Netflix called American Manhunt, and this is the best documentary I've ever seen, without a doubt.
This is the one about Osama?
About 9/11 and catching Osama and bin Laden.
Okay.
And
nice.
Yeah, I'm guessing you haven't seen it yet.
Oh, God. I haven't seen it yet, but
I
have seen the trailer for it. It looks really good.
Yeah. I don't want to put too much jinx into or spoiler into it, but I think one of the coolest thing was just how they're preparing the Navy SEALs. They're like, we're not even sure if this is Osama bin Laden. And they're going off satellite images, and they would see this guy walk out of the building. Like they would measure the shadow, try to that's as much. And like we think it's him. The height matches up with the shadow. We're like, this is it's a risky operation because it's in Pakistan, and you fly your coppers over there, they could shoot you down. But the cool thing was, when the Navy SEALs were training for this, the CIA would build like a compound that would resemble the building that Osama bin Laden was staying in. And obviously, the outside structure was pretty similar, but they had no idea what the interior layout would be. And so every single day, when the Navy SEALs would go in and train in there, it'd be a different interior layout. The CIA would switch it up every single time, the interior, just like, we don't know. So you got to be in your toes. So
yeah,
it was cool. Yeah, you should really watch it.
I will check that out.
Really,
that sounds awesome.
Bryce, we're throwing in a new segment this week, right before we get into On This Date in Iowa. I kind of stole this off of Murph and Andy, but theirs is more the general public. Ours is going to be more general Iowans. Our new segment is, what Iowan are you having a beer with? And each week we're going to lay out 3 Iowans, and then as we keep moving forward with this, we'll eventually get down to our most likely Iowan we would ever want to have a beer with. And top 3 started here. Who would you rather have a beer with, Bryce? A, Ashton Kutcher, Lolo Jones, or Sean Johnson?
Ooh, very good list. What a way to start it off. So Sean and Lolo have some really, really cool global success in their respective sports. So that would be a lot of fun. Obviously, Lolo had kind of a tragic story. I don't remember exactly what happened, but I feel like I'd want to hear more about some of her Olympic trials. Ashton obviously has done a lot of cool things, not just in film, but outside, trying to help with the sex trafficking stuff. Oh, man, I'm leaning towards Ashton Kutcher, but I might say Sean Johnson just because of her success at the Olympics. I'm gonna go with Shawn Johnson. I want to hear about her time in Beijing.
Yeah, I would agree. If I had had a beard, I would choose Shawn Johnson. I felt like she was at the height of the pedestal when it came to any athletics. She
Mm-hmm.
really put Iowa on the map, right? I feel like we didn't,
Yep.
especially with the media kind of growing in the area, then her just really being the most dominant athlete potentially in the
Yep.
Olympics that year. So shout out to Shawn
Yeah.
Johnson. I'm definitely having a beer with you. And she has really good Instagram.
She's
She's like a big Instagram
I was gonna
girl
say
now.
like now she has a really fun
Uh-huh.
presence on TikTok and Instagram.
Yeah.
So I feel like she's got a fun personality and obviously great stories and putting us on the map back in 2008. So I agree with you. I think it's got to be Shawn. Fun segment. I'm excited to see who comes up next. And so the idea is then we're gonna whittle down and pick the very perfect person to invite to our favorite brewery, and hopefully they show up.
Right. And I just feel like Shawn Johnson would be nice to me. Want to hurt my feelings when we're having this beer. And that's all about. Just want to enjoy and have a good time. So, Bryce, welcome to May 19th here. Let's dive into some weather records. I know today isn't your most glorious day, but it could be worse because the lowest temperature ever recorded on May 19th was set back in 1894, 32 degrees Fahrenheit. We're not super far away from that, 17 degrees here in Waterloo. Actually, for the lowest temperature, I guess you think about the low last night is probably, I don't even know,
Close.
low 40. So, yeah, we're a little bit closer than I thought. Still not the lowest, though. The highest temperature recorded in 1975, 93 degrees Fahrenheit. Look at that. Most precipitation was 1.35 inches, set back in 1944, right near World War II era. We could use some of that rain today, help out the drought session. But again, 0% chance of snow. I would say we're officially out of the snow. We're damn close to summer. I know we prematurely called it last week, but we're feeling good about where we are moving here the next week or two. Just need a little bit more rain. Let's green some of this grass back up for the neighborhood.
Yep, 100%.
Nothing really major going on this day as we can take a look at May 19th, set back in 1834 in Dubuque, Iowa. Patrick O'Connor shot and killed George O'Keefe, making the first American-era murder in Iowa. This incident, Bryce, also led to Iowa's first murder trial and execution.
First murder, trial, and execution. Okay, that's kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big day in Iowa.
Yeah, first person to murder someone in Iowa that led to a trial.
What was this? What was going on here?
I don't know. I tried looking into it. I literally could not find it anywhere else. It was near some art building, maybe something to do with some art. This guy might have been an artist, George, dude. I'm not 100% sure. This might not even happen, but I'm convinced it did happen. I just can't find any evidence. Well, I don't freaking blame it. It happened in 1834. How the hell are you going to document that shit?
I know there's no iPhones these days. Nothing gets past us. You barely. They were taking pictures with gunpowder back then. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And to anybody that recognizes these names, please fill us in the comments because I have absolutely never heard of these people before. But they sound. They obviously made the news somewhere, somehow, and at the very least found your Google search. So if you know about these people, let us know.
It is fitting because it's in Dubuque, which is set back in 1834, and Dubuque is our oldest town here. So maybe they just started building Dubuque and they got pissed off about it and they shot him. But this guy did pay. This guy did pay the ultimate price, so he's the first person to be executed in Iowa for murdering somebody else. We got a lot of Iowa news here, Bryce.
Yeah, very, very fun news day.
Yes. What the hell was the All-American Rejects doing at a barn party in Ames, Iowa this weekend?
Okay, so here, can I give you a little backstory?
So you know about this?
We did barely, like the day before. So this weekend, I don't have a lot planned. Darian's got like the whole month planned out, wedding stuff. This weekend, she went to a wedding with my mom, actually, one of my mom's friends down at the Rollins Mansion in Des Moines. But she gets this text like an hour before they're heading to the wedding, and it's her friend Kaylee saying, "Hey, the All-American Rejects are playing. Would you want to go?" And Darian's like, "What? What are you talking about?" And we're looking at the flyer. It's like $5 entry. I'm like, "Are you sure this isn't like a cover band?" So her friend actually went. Darian's like, "Dang, like I really would have wanted to go to that." Well, I'm golfing at the time. I don't think anything of it. Then I scroll my TikTok feed and I'm like, oh my God, they popped up and started playing. And then my whole feed for the rest of the weekend was the All-American Rejects. Just their official tour like starts like next week or something. But they were doing like some pop-ups in Minnesota and Iowa beforehand just to like kind of kick off the tour. So I don't know much more than that, other than that they just keep popping up and being like, hey, here's a surprise show for any fans in this area.
I see. I didn't know anything about it till this morning. And yeah, I have that video I sent you. We should probably throw that video here on the YouTube of
We'll get it
Ritter.
up there.
What's his name? The head singer, Ritter.
Yeah.
He was up on a camper or something, or held probably a tractor, just showing the line it was to get into this farm and how long it was. I'm like, how did these people find out about it? Was it just from their Instagram page where they like meet us at these coordinates?
Dude, I think it's the power of TikTok Reels and just the flyer. The flyer is what I saw, and it took me a second. Obviously, we had already made our plans for the weekend, so it was not really in the cards for us to drive up to Ames. I wish we would have known about it sooner, because this is the music we grew up on, and it's crazy how much relevance they clearly have. The line to get in, the turnout at the pop-up event. I guess it was just the power of social media. You say, hey, I'm going to be here, and people show up.
Right. And who the hell hosted this?
Like a venue I'd never even heard of.
So it was a venue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it was on a farm.
Let me see if... Yeah.
Is it like a traveling venue type of gig or something?
Not sure.
Because
no idea.
According to that video, it looked like it was right on a farm. You had grain bins in the background, which is sweet setup. I would, if I was closer to me and if I knew about it earlier, like I said, I didn't know till this first thing this morning, I would have totally been there.
Barn with a blue door south of Ames. Yeah. Black contemporary farm. I have no idea. It's pretty awesome. Like you said, I mean, had we known about it, I think this might have been like the biggest concert to come to Iowa in a long time. I guess I didn't realize how many people were still really into this, like early 2000s, I'd say alternative rock.
It's kind of coming back.
It kind of is coming back. Yeah. Which is fun because that's the stuff that I remember listening to in like middle school, high school.
Yeah. Social media is definitely bringing it back. It's just, you hear the music, you see the same familiar faces, and it's nostalgic. And also like, damn, that was such a banger. And also you grew up on it and you still feel that type of way for that music. So All American Rejects is one of my favorite bands, and Dirty Little Secret is one of my favorite songs. So So shout out to the people who were to make it to the Ames barn party to watch the All American Rejects on this last weekend. What a blessing that was to God's country. And he did reference Iowa's God's country. So just like we do here in this podcast. Bryce, more big news here for the state of Iowa because Center Point-Urbana's mascot won the championship for the Sports Illustrated Best High School Mascot Competition. That's a pretty freaking big deal.
It is a big deal. We'll have to throw this mascot on there because he's a handsome fellow. Look at this guy. Can you see him?
Yeah. So you have the graphic image, and then you have the actual real life image of the mascot. His name is Stormin' Norman, and in the graphic, he's like a dog sitting in a tornado with a lightning bolt. That's really cool. That's really creative, and the person, he kind of looks a little pissed off to be there, but that's cool. Adds to the character. And shout out to my wife's coworker, Joe Bonson, who recommended this. Say, hey, I'm from Center Point-Urbana. How have you guys not talked about this yet? You're right. Foolish on our end. I know when we did the top 5 mascot rankings, I can't remember if we put Center Point-Urbana in there. I feel like maybe one of us did.
I don't know if we did because it was, I think, more based on the name than it was the actual mascot.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we were trashed. You didn't want to be on that list.
Yeah, and now seeing the mascot, it's like, how could you leave this guy off the list? Because the artwork is hilarious. He's almost like a pissed off Snoopy in a tornado, which that's just all the right things mixed together.
Right. It's intimidating. It's cool. It's got a little bit of Iowa tornado and storms involved in it. Really good. I'd like to know who designed this mascot because they clearly did a job to win the mascot of the year here in the country. So shout out to Center Point-Urbana. Brock Purdy is finally getting the bag. Brock Purdy, 5-year, $265 million contract, which is going to make him the 7th highest paid quarterback in the NFL. Are you with this? Are you for this? Or you think that's a little too much?
I'm all for it. America's Mr. Irrelevant. That has now become very relevant. I think the fact that you bring yourself to a Super Bowl, obviously this 49er team that he walked into was loaded at the time. One of the best defenses, all the weapons you could ask for. That being said, you still have to throw the ball, make the decisions, and perform at a high level. And he did that. He did that for a long time on a very minimal NFL contract. Obviously, he's still getting paid. Like those minimum contracts are better than any job that you could possibly get in the state of Iowa.
Yeah, you're getting
That
endorsements
being said,
too.
you're still vastly underpaid for a skill that only a few people do very, very well in the entire world. So I think this is almost, even if it doesn't pan out in the long run, if they don't get any Super Bowls, I think this is almost back pay for the work that he did and the ability to get those Niners to the Super Bowl. So I love it. I think it's awesome being the last pick overall in that draft to now one of the highest paid players in the nation. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, definitely one of the coolest sports in sorts. I don't care if you're an Iowa fan, UNI fan, you sit back, then you tip your hat to Brock Purdy. He's a good dude too, you know? So
Yep.
very proud of him to have come to here to the state of Iowa. I know he's originally from Arizona, but do what he did at Iowa State and then to see him get picked literally last in the NFL. And you're right. It was a blessing in disguise because he goes to the loaded San Francisco 49ers, an opportunity arises, and all he really had to do was not mess up. So he clearly did that, and he found himself a good niche with some loaded talent around him, and he started really presenting himself as a top-tier quarterback in the NFL, taking down Tom Brady in his rookie year, obviously leading the San Francisco 49ers against Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl. Couldn't cap it off, but played well enough to win that game. I would say seventh highest paid quarterback is right. It was right. It's perfect
Yeah.
spot for him right there. Any higher than that, I'm like, well, let's hold up here. You know, he's on the 49ers. Chill out. You know, but you're right. Anything lower than that, I'm like, you know, he deserves it. So tap of the back to him.
The analysis typically is there's quarterbacks that win games and there's quarterbacks that don't lose games, and I would put him like right in the middle of that conversation. I don't think he's exactly the playmaker that Mahomes and Hurts and some of these guys are. I do think that he's a really solid player. He's going to make the throws, so I agree with you. I think that's exactly where he needs to be. Just looking back at his career, my brother and dad and I were talking about it a little bit this weekend. A lot of people have said the only people in the world that thought Brock Purdy was worth drafting were people in Ames, Iowa. They're the only ones that really saw the ceiling. And I was thinking about that a little bit. I do think that I thought he had a bigger ceiling than he was getting credit for. I thought he was maybe worth a higher draft pick than that, just because I've seen his performance at Iowa State. And I'm like, he's better than a lot of the Iowa quarterbacks that have gotten drafted higher and been sustainable backups in the NFL for a long time. The Stanzies and Beathards and all that. So I did think he had a little higher ceiling than people were giving him credit for. Either way, I think all of us are surprised and happily surprised with how he's doing in the NFL and giving Iowa State and Iowa a good rep. It's pretty awesome.
What I like about this is that he's doing it with his rival, former Iowa tight end George Kittle, right? So you got the Iowa State, Iowa connection. It almost makes like Iowa kind of come together a little bit in a sense and like cheer him on both. And that's how I really started. I'm like, he's with Kittle. Fuck it, I like Brock Purdy. And how do you not like the guy, right? And that's just one instance. And now you go over to Indianapolis, you have Tyrese Halliburton leading the Indiana Pacers and obviously sharing the city with Caitlin Clark, one of the biggest figures in sports. And then you got your Iowa State connection there again. So all of a sudden now I like Tyrese Halliburton too. And so we put aside our biases and we kind of come together, cheer at a professional level, which is great because we don't have a professional level here at the state of Iowa, but we can follow our college athletes to these franchises, and they just happen to share the same city together and to be two of the biggest names in each of their respective cities. So it really is special to kind of see what's unfolding in front of us right now. And Caitlin Clark just continues to be Caitlin Clark, like we sit here and constantly say how she's perfect. And she starts off the season against the Chicago Sky, her arch nemesis, Angel Reese, with a triple-double, Bryce.
Yep.
And which now makes her the third most triple-doubles in WNBA history. And this is her first game of the second season.
Yeah. Somebody quote tweeted this stat, and they are 100% correct. She is going to run a monopoly on all of the WNBA records. She is going to hold everything, and I think she's going to grow the sport. And I think some of these things will get broken eventually, but for the time being, she is going to dominate that circuit.
That is
unbelievable.
That might be the most mind-boggling stat. I know the WNBA we've shat on, and rightfully so. It wasn't grabbing attention and viewers. Now I'm completely flipped the book. I love the WNBA. Caitlin Clark has me hooked. But
I said it this weekend. I'm excited for the WNBA season. I really am. I'm excited to see the Fever dominate. I think they have a great team. You brought it up maybe a month ago that they added those key players, and Caitlin's not going to have to do everything herself. it's going to be a really fun season.
Right. There's a lot more depth when it comes to Indiana Fever. And clearly you can see it as they pounded the Chicago Sky. 93-58. I think Angel Reese did get her 17 boards. And that's a whole drama of itself. But before we get in that drama, going back to Caitlin Clark's triple-double, Dave Portnoy locked in a $25,000 bet on the first game of the season for her to hit a triple-double, and he hits it. He was courtside there for plus 1,300 odds, and he was just waiting for her to get that rebound. And God, he was just going nuts. Classic Dave Portnoy cashing out $350,000 from that bet. So,
which is Nate, that is more than any WNBA player will make all season. The league maximum is 284,000, I want to say, and that bet alone will have eclipsed any number that any player will have made this season.
Caitlin is now catching she had not just now catching the eye, but she's always had the attention, but officially getting an Instagram post from LeBron James.
Yep.
And which is so freaking cool. You know, when I saw that, I'm like, oh, the Caitlin posted LeBron. No, it's LeBron posting Caitlin Clark.
Yep. And she deserves it. She deserves recognition from all the greats. I think, I don't know how much we want to get into it. I know that the Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark stuff it doesn't give the sport a good name right now. I hope it gets resolved. I hope that they can be like quality competitors and not make it so much of a black versus white thing. But I think it's really cool that the greats on the men's side are jumping on board. LeBron is becoming one of these inarguable pillars of the sport of all time. And I think that will last for as long as the game is around. And to have somebody like that post you is pretty cool.
Right. Speaking of that drama, do you watch that play that Angel Reese got fouled on? What was your thoughts on that play?
I think it's an aggressive foul. I don't think it's egregious, and I don't think it was malicious.
I don't think it should have been an intentional foul. I think it was an aggressive foul, and maybe they're talking about the left hand pushing. But I mean, what are you gonna do? Just let this girl who's twice the size of you get an easy layup?
Right.
No, you're
Angel's a physical gal and bigger, and you got to be aggressive with her, I guess.
But I also don't blame Angel Reese a little bit for coming back at it. I was like, what the hell? You know, like you clearly don't know the entire context because things happen so fast in the sport of basketball. And then sometimes when you go back and watch a film, like, oh, I may have overreacted. So I understand where she came from at that point in the interview. I'm surprised they went to the monitor and called it. I think they're trying to catch Angel a little bit of break here and give Caitlin a slap on the wrist. And then obviously shit's been blowing up in the media, which it always has and always will with these two.
Yeah.
Farther than what it needs to be. But
yeah,
nevertheless, it's attention. I know it's not the right attention you want, but it's attention. Bad publicity, still publicity, unfortunately.
Once again, Caitlin Clark, Marquee TV, going to grab every headline possible. And, we talked about it. Is Angel doing some of this stuff to maintain her relevancy? I don't know, but either which way, it's going to keep grabbing more attention for the WNBA, which probably at the end of the day is good for everybody involved. I think that's the kind of media attention that makes people tune in, and eventually those maximum $284,000 salaries can turn into something a little bit more respectable for the viewership that they're starting to draw. So yeah, I have no idea. I don't think it was malicious, and like I said a little earlier, I hope it turns into more of a friendly rivalry than something so black versus white and so aggressive. But
yeah, I think
it makes you want to tune in.
A normal basketball aggressive play that turned into something way bigger than what it needed to be, right? And that's just your far left Clarkies who are ride or die will do anything to attack Angel Reese, and then obviously the Angel Reese side, So obviously it's never going to mix well when you're too far side one another. But I think we're tuning in for a big season in the WNBA, which I can't believe we're saying that.
Yeah, I know. It's fun. I'm looking forward to it. I really am. I'm not even just saying it just because it's the right thing to do. I think I'm actually really excited to catch some Fever games. I'm not sure if I'll tune into like a bunch of other games, but I'll watch a ton of Fever games this summer.
Right. Bryce, we're gonna cap off this episode by ranking our top 5 most irrelevant towns in Iowa, and we're probably gonna raise some blood pressure with some of these residents living in this town. And guys, we're not doing deep dives on this by any means. This really is a biased ranking. This is because, one, I don't know anyone that comes from there. You have no reason to be knowledgeable in my life of your town existence. Your location really matters to me.
Yeah.
And just how often how I hear about you. But my requirement was you needed at least a town population of 5,000. I'm not going to dog on small towns for being non-existent because that's classic small town Iowa. I want you to be kind of non-existent, be nonchalant, kind of be out there. But if you have a town of 5,000 plus and you're doing very little for the state of Iowa, I want to call you out on this one.
Okay, fair. Yeah, and again, just like you said, it's subjective. That's nothing direct attack against these towns, but if you're irrelevant, you're irrelevant. I'm sorry. This is just our opinion.
You go ahead, lead us with your number 5.
Storm Lake. Do you want to know why? Because I can't think of one good reason why I'd go to Storm Lake. So recently, one of our friends went up to Storm Lake and they noticed the smell. I'm like, okay. Then they're like, gosh, there's just nothing up here. You're getting into the northwestern part of the state. It gets pretty flat. There's not a lot going on. Storm Lake makes that list because there's a very small chance that I get up there in my lifetime again. And, unless I brought it up today, I don't know when I'd mention that name again.
Yeah, my number 5, Bryce, is Storm Lake as well.
Is it really?
The reason is I almost didn't want to put it on the list because we're almost going to ranking the top 5 worst towns, which Storm Lake very well could be in that category. So I put it at the end of my list. But it's almost impossible to have a lake in your town and become irrelevant. But Storm Lake somehow did the impossible and became relevant. Mm-hmm. And I drive there enough for work. It's always gray up there. It's just I'm just fine not going to Storm Lake. So
yeah, it's nothing personal, but they're like, what's the reason to go there? It's like you go to Bogie, you go to. I mean, there's just more things to do.
I ain't swimming in Storm Lake, but Ben McCollum has helped out its case a little bit, being somewhat relevant and new Iowa men's head basketball coach. My number 4, Bryce, is Manchester, Iowa. One of my eastern towns, one of the only eastern central Iowa town I selected here. Manchester, you're stuck between Dubuque, Cedar Falls, Waterloo. I'm going to go to one of those two. I'm not coming to Manchester, okay?
Yeah, you're in no man's land.
No one knows anybody from Manchester. I don't even know what school's there. I think there's, you know what? Their school did that one cool thing that had a volleyball match on the football field. Mm-hmm. That's some brownie points for Manchester. Okay, that's how you do some shit when your town's super irrelevant. You take your volleyball team, you set up an outdoor court on your football field, and you have a match, okay? Do more shit like that because you guys really need it. And I might give you some bonus points for the river that runs through your town. It's kind of pretty, but that's about it. There's nothing going on in Manchester.
Well, I was going to say, I think that's the River and Backbone State Park. I do think that's pretty close. I don't know if it's in Manchester, but I know it's close. But I agree, it's in no man's land. The only people I can even think that have lived there are Landon and Morgan at one point.
Yeah, that's literally it.
Yeah.
So the only person I know that was Landon.
They didn't make my list, but I can see where you're coming from. You're just really in the middle of no man's land in a part of the state that has a lot of scenery. Northeast Iowa is kind of hard to compete with, so I get that one.
Yeah, so our first 2 towns coming off the Highway 20 corridor.
Yep, and I'm going to go right to I-80 here and Newton, Iowa. Newton, Iowa is right in between Grinnell and Des Moines. They do have the Speedway, so that brings a lot of relevance. Obviously, NASCAR's coming to town once a year now. But before that, man, it was really looking dire. This town was growing fast. They were one of the biggest cities that wasn't in a metro, just kind of existed right along I-80. And then they had some issues with local commerce business leaving town and really started to die off. So when we were in high school and traveling up to Newton, just not a lot of good things were going on there. And it just feels like a town of 20,000 plus should have a little bit more notoriety. They don't, and that's why they make the list.
Bryce, that's a really good pick. I would almost compare that to Manchester in a way. Mm-hmm. They're irreplaceable there. Obviously, yeah, Newton does have the Speedway, and I will give them credit for Chester's Chicken. Anytime that has a Chester's Chicken for us truck drivers is good for me. So shout out to the loves there. Okay. But I don't need to go any farther north on I-80 up into Newton. The only way I'm going south is to the Speedway or the Chester's Chicken.
Can I speak one good thing about Newton before you go, or I circle back? They do have one of the very few drive-ins left in the state. So if you ever get over to that area, maybe even make it a destination to go to the Valley Drive-In. That is actually a cool experience up in Newton. But again, not many people know about it, and it borders on irrelevant.
Follows back for number 3.
Not too far away from that area, staying in central Iowa, Marshalltown. Marshalltown gets a lot of bad rap, and unfortunately, that's why it makes the list, because the only time you hear about it is usually not in a good way. Right in smack dab in the middle of the state.
I'm gonna challenge you on this one though. You're hearing about it though,
Okay.
so it's not so irrelevant, right?
Yeah,
You're starting
I'm
to
hearing about it.
watching you.
Yeah.
We're gonna start
Okay.
ranking our top 5 worst towns, and that's what
Okay.
we could be careful about this list. So,
Okay.
but 2 different
It's a
opinions.
yellow flag.
Yeah, I'm gonna raise a yellow flag on
Okay.
that because I do think
Okay.
Marshalltown's relevant, but not in a way you would choose to be.
Okay, that's fair. I think you're right. That was a good check. I thought I was hearing about it a lot more because I grew up in Pella and we would do more things around that area, but maybe more people than I think of know of Marshalltown and know of Marshalltown maybe in not a very savory way. So I'll put a little asterisk next to my ranking there.
My next 3 here, Bryce, are going to be home run hits. Okay. My number 3 is a town of 50+ thousand population. It's Council Bluffs. How do you have 50,000 people? And I don't know a single person from there. It really is just the western part of the state. If you're out there, you're really irrelevant. You got eastern Iowa because you got Iowa City, Cedar Rapids, right? You got the scenery up northeast, and then you got central Iowa, got Ames, Des Moines area, and then you're in a bad location. The only good thing that Council Bluffs has done in this time is not beat Nebraska.
Yes, you will see this on my list as well, and I just cannot believe a town of that many people. We have 0 people that I can think of in our network.
0
from that area. I'm convinced it is a town that only exists to give Iowa 20 to 40,000 more people.
Right. Oh, that's a perfect. Bryce, that may like the most accurate thing I've ever heard. It literally is just to boost up some population in Iowa. The only person I know that's ever came from Council Bluffs is Josh Dix. That's it.
Okay, that's a name, but still, like, who else?
No one.
Who else? Answer that question. Okay, you got to circle back, but then you'll hear a little bit more about Council.
Okay, my number 2, Bryce, is Denison, Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
No man's land. You're really out there. You're not even close to like a big time city. You're just terrible location. There's nothing. Nobody's ever came from Denison, Iowa. Either did one person, Brandon Scherf. That's it.
Yep, I love it. I think that's.
I want to know what to do if I met someone from Denison. I'm like, really?
Agreed. And I think that's the theme of my list. I know that there's an asterisk next to one now, but that's really it. It's those towns that just exist and have that population in the middle of nowhere that just surprise the hell out of me. Just, like, how did they grow that big?
Right.
Makes no sense. Number 2 for me is Council Bluffs, and it's the exact conversation we had. I can't believe that it's that big, and we just don't know anybody from over there. And the fact that maybe it's just so close to Nebraska puts a little bit more notoriety to it. I have no idea what's going on. You tell me why it's that big, but that Council Bluffs makes my 2.
I think we're leaning towards the same number 1 here.
It's not if you texted me beforehand because I wanted to do something different.
All right, cool. Go up your number 1.
My number 1 is Johnston, Iowa. And this is
going
to be an interesting one. I went with the Metro, and here's why. There are so many towns that you think of when you think of Des Moines. How often do you think of Johnston, Iowa, when you think of Des Moines?
I think of Johnston quite a bit because my aunt and uncle live there, and that's how we've been ranking some of these lists. We just don't know anybody that freaking lives there. And I think of Johnston baseball. It's really top tier program.
Yep.
If I had to think of one metro town I don't know anything about, I would pick Clive. I almost threw Clive in there.
Yeah.
Clive's up there.
Clive was almost on my list. Yep.
So Johnston's out there a little bit. You might be taking some heat for this one for number 1 too. Wow.
Yeah, it's my number 1. I think that Ankeny and Dallas Center Grimes and Urbandale and Clive because you're so close to Valley, like that West Des Moines area gets that Dowling Valley kind of mixed in. You just hear so much about it. And when you're competing against Waukee Northwest and Waukee Central and Ankeny Centennial and all these schools, you don't see a lot of Johnston on the major sports platforms, in the headlines very often. You're right, baseball. I might have been wrong there. Johnston just oftentimes gets overlooked. As a Des Moines resident, there's absolutely no reason for me to go to Johnston. There's so many other places that I would rather go.
Okay.
So that's why they make my number 1.
Risky picking a metro. I tried doing it. I'm like, when I look at the metro, I just see as one big blob. So I don't want to try to sit there and dissect it. But risky move, and that's what we do sometimes in this podcast, especially in these segments. We put something out there.
Mm-hmm.
Bryce, my number 1 most irrelevant town in Iowa is Sioux City.
The Sioux.
80,000 plus population. And still, I don't know a damn human being that's ever came from there. How is this possible? Are you so far west? I think Sioux City is so far west, it almost denies the fact that it's part of Iowa. It almost wants to just be like its own thing. I'm not saying it wants to pledge allegiance to South Dakota or Nebraska. It's just, now we're Sioux City.
You're flirting with South Dakota, though. You're very close. And it oftentimes gets lumped into Sioux Falls. I think a lot of people get Sioux City and Sioux Falls mixed up. I wanted to throw this on there, but since you messaged me beforehand and mentioned it, I was going to let you have this one. I think it's a great pick. I knew about it a little bit more because I lived up in Sioux Center.
I wondered.
And we would go to Sioux City. That was kind of our Des Moines when we were up there. You'd go there to shop. On the way is Lamar's. And Lamar's obviously has Blue Bunny.
See, I didn't put Lamar's on because I had Blue Bunny. That's relevant.
Yeah, a few of those things just in my brain as a child, thinking back to those trips. I'm like, one, you mentioned it, and two, there's just enough interaction that I had that I actually do know a few people from that area that makes it more relevant. But I think it's still a great pick. When you think of like marquee towns in Iowa, Sioux City is not on there.
Yeah, one person I think of Sioux City is Adam Woodbury, and he's not the most relevant human being to ever come out of Iowa. So if that's your dude, okay, you're Mr. Irrelevant on my list, Sioux City.
I love it. I think you had a great list. I'm glad you checked me on one. I think Marshalltown was kind of a suspect pick, but overall, I think we had some really good ones on here. Not that they're necessarily bad towns. They're just ones that are like, why aren't you bigger? Why don't more people talk about you? And why aren't
Right.
Where are you now? Where did you end up? If you grew up there, where are you at? Tell us where you're
Why
at.
is nothing going on in Sioux City? Why are we never going there? Why is nobody ever coming from there? Who's there?
Knock,
too
knock.
big.
Who is there? We don't
too
know.
big to be irrelevant, especially in the state of Iowa. That was a really good segment. Yeah, that was really fun. I feel like we'll be doing more of those. We've kind of coined our segments as in town or county related and given our feelings for them. And it feels good to express that. So pumped up about that segment, Bryce. We're jumping into the Memorial Weekend here. What are you up to this weekend?
Not a whole lot. The best thing about May is that I've got a lot of weekends where Darian's doing wedding stuff and I'm doing golf stuff. We're closing in on the time where we got to start sending out save the dates and wedding invites and taking pictures and really getting into the flow of wedding season for us next May. At this time next year, I will be fully in wedding mode. But for now, I can focus on the golf game, and I'm pumped about that. Not a whole lot. You got the travels to Colorado, and I'm sure that's going to be taking up a lot of your mind here the next couple of days.
Yeah, we'll be golfing there, do some hiking, Red Rock. Just really excited to get out there with some beautiful weather, what looks like in front of us, and then we get back Sunday. Just laying low when we get back, kind of doing recovering, being happy to be back in the state of Iowa. Are we recording Monday, or are you doing something Monday? It doesn't matter.
As of now, I think we have an interview scheduled.
Oh, that's right.
But
yes.
we probably should play that by ear. I know
totally forgot about
travels and.
No, I'm not doing.
I'm
not doing anything Monday, so we can make that work.
Let's plan on keeping it. Keep me updated on the travels and everything. I know that Memorial Day weekend can turn into kind of a doozy. I think we have just enough going on that that can still work. But yeah, let's plan on having a normal episode.
Okay, looking forward to that. Everyone, thanks for hopping on today. Stay warm out there today and get some rain this weekend because we need it.
Just west of the Mississippi.